welcome to our YouTube channel. We're so glad you found us. Please enjoy this inspiring interview with MerrySong, where she was interviewed by Joy Bedford. If you would like some more information about MerrySong, please reach out to her at MerrySong at centerforsacredsciences.org. For more information on our non-dual community and the free resources we provide, we invite you to visit our website at awakening-together.org. We hope you enjoy the satsang and hope to see you live in our sanctuary.
I had a mystical experience. I definitely wondered about God. I knew there was something that was off, and I somehow knew that my own mind was veiled. Not using those words, but definitely some big questions and a very unusual mystical experience. When I share it, people are like, what?
Yes. I didn't think about it till later how important that was. When it happens as a child, you think this is the way life is. Isn't everyone doing that? Isn't everybody having that connection? So what transpired then for me in terms of the mantra practice is that I noticed that I could chant that, thank you, God for everything. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. So mantra practice going on and on in my mind. And then I realized, hey, look at the breath. The breath is going with the mantra. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. And then I began to see a visualization, a white light starting here. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. It comes up the back. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. Whew. Until I fell asleep. It gives me tingles all over now, remembering. So I didn't realize until I discovered Vipassana meditation at around age 35 or 6 that, my gosh, I was practicing so young and nobody else around me was doing this. So I don't know how. I would say this is grace. Some of you might say, well, I think that's a past life situation or whatever the case. Doesn't much matter to me anymore. But that was what my childhood was like. One aspect of my childhood is that I felt connected to the divine. I felt a calling. This is an important thing that I talked about with my brother. We decided, kids, right? But we decided there's no way the human mind can figure out why this is the way it is. We decided, Shauna, you agree? We can't figure this out, so why try? In the brain, the human brain can't figure out all this, can't figure out infinity. And I was thinking about infinity. I was laying in bed at night thinking about, what is infinity? If you shot off in a spaceship off the Earth, and I was born in 54, so, coming along was Sputnik and space programs and all that. And you just kept going. Is there a wall out there? What is infinity? So this concerned me a bit. I was a little afraid of that idea of infinity. You just go on forever, eternity. Anyway, Richard and I, my brother, decided, you can't figure this out, so don't try. Don't worry about it. But keep going. We felt we were on a journey to attain a certain wisdom. And that has been a blessing in my life, that feeling that I'm on this journey, moving through, looking for the connection, the wisdom, and so on. So, is there a question?
Is there, MerrySong, would you share about experience at Brighton Bush?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So let me I'll do a big, broad brushstroke here. Because I was a happy child, but a very disillusioned and angry teenager, running away from home, and as a hippie chick and an anti-establishment and all of this. To get me to Brighton Bush Hot Springs took some years, because I didn't get there until I was 35. Brighton Bush Hot Springs is a healing retreat and conference center in the Cascade Mountains of Oregon, a very beautiful place that's been in this incarnation since the 1970s. And it's where I found myself able to really kick up my heels and be myself. But before getting to that, I found that I had to first rebel and then come back and start pursuing the dream or the search for happiness in the material world. Some of you can identify with this. So after being a high school dropout, I got my GED, I got my BA, I got a good job in public radio. I interviewed people and live on the air and all this sort of thing. But something was missing. Something was really missing. And to get me to Brighton Bush Hot Springs was going to take something. And what came was a health crisis. So just before finding myself at Brighton Bush, I had a health crisis, which you might think of as a near-death experience, because I felt such tremendous fear going into the hospital to have surgery. Such tremendous fear. I can still remember just shaking in the cold, ice cold blood in my veins and being so afraid. But coming out of surgery, a changed person, in that my consciousness felt boundless. Again, I'm going to attribute that to grace. It wasn't something that I did. So because of that, I was unable to continue living life as I had been, pursuing happiness in the material world. It took me from Iowa to the West Coast, in search. I knew there was lots of cool people out on the West Coast because I listened to New Dimensions Radio on public radio, which I worked for public radio, and would listen to all these new age people, Ram Dass, and, lots of people. And I thought, I'm going to go there. And one place was Brighton Bush. In fact, Ram Dass would come there regularly. Ruth Denison came there regularly. So Laura Joy, you're asking about the awakening I had there, right?
That, and also what subsequently followed in your search for a teacher.
Yeah.
More information. Yeah.
I longed for a teacher. So, that was part of my pursuit now. Where are my people? Where are my kindreds? And where is that teacher who could help me on this path? But here's another point of grace. I went to Brighton Bush. I had just finished an MFA, a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, and I went to Brighton Bush to volunteer to work for them just so I could be there. It's quite a gorgeous place in a rainforest, an ancient rainforest with this rushing river going through the middle of it, tall trees, and just the vibration, and then the natural hot springs popping up. So much to love about it, and love the people who live there and the people who come there as guests and so on. So I went there to be a volunteer. I was on the housekeeping team. So here I am, right? I'm an MFA, and I'm sweeping the deck, and I'm changing the beds and cleaning up this and cleaning up that. And I was in joy. It felt liberating. I just wanted to serve. Please just let me serve. So here's a turning point. for me. One day, I walked across the bridge. Now, the bridge across the Brighton Bush River connected the staff side and the guest side, which had a great big lodge and interesting buildings and all these little cabins. And so, if you lived there, you walked across that bridge all the time. And there was a little cutout in the bridge, a little stopping point where you could just stop and gaze out to what is called Devil's Ridge. I thought, why is it called Devil's Ridge? Devil? Looks like Angel's Ridge to me, but I didn't argue about it. So one day I walked across the bridge and stopped in the middle of the bridge. What a momentous occasion. Walking across a bridge, if you're awake and aware, what a momentous occasion to be awake and walking. I stopped on the bridge and I looked at Devil's Ridge, and nothing happened, but something happened. That's the paradox. What I observed happening is that my mind stopped. The chatter, it's always going on. Narratives like, do the people over there like me? Maybe I should, stand up straighter. My mother always said I should. And, I don't know if I can get this job done in time. And poof, stopped. Just relating that to you, it makes me stop now. Just feeling the resonation of that moment. There was no fear. I want to point that out because, I've talked to a great many people who express fear of emptiness, fear of falling into a black hole, a fear of the mind stopping or not being yourself anymore. Because if the mind stops, so also stops that story of I, the story of who you think you are. I'm that girl, that 7-year-old, and I grew up in Iowa and blah, blah, blah. All that, poof. So what I observed happening, because I had to keep going across the bridge. I'm with you, Shauna. I feel that too. The emptiness being observed, not by I of the story in my mind, but of consciousness itself, filled with joy. And I went across the bridge. And I was radiant. I love this background because I'm just like out in the sky, just like, whoosh. Well, see, that's no problem. I mean, that's not a problem when you're in a place like that. I mean, radiance and spirituality and the mystery, the great mystery and everything. But there was a problem that arose for me. And that is that people saw that and they came at me. They came to me and they said, what have you got going there? What is this? And my mind was not working in the same way as before. I was standing there with people and no thoughts arose to say. They probably thought I was being really weird. I was standing there just like, and still radiating the joy. And some people I think were confused, like, is she flirting with me? is this a come on? Is this something about sexuality? Or, so like men and women both were coming to me, guests and staff, like, what do you got going here? What is this? And I found myself go, whoosh, pull this back in, pull it back. Because you don't know how, on this earth plane, how are you going to handle that? What are you going to do? You don't even know what's going on. You don't even have the language or any of this. You haven't studied any path. You don't know. So I said, I need a teacher, and I need it fast. I need a teacher. And so, oh, my great good fortune, Ram Dass was actually there on property at that time. And I was helping to move all the furniture around and set up the rooms. Lots and lots of people were coming to see Ram Dass. And I walked into a room, which was actually the dining hall, but they were switching it up to be a meeting hall. And I had this experience whereby I could see everything's like a movie screen and all this is being projected onto it. Look at that. I walked into the room with, wow, the movies. Look, it's being projected, everything. Can't you see? Well, I didn't say anything to anyone, but that was stunning. Wow, it's a movie screen. Well, anyway, Ruth Denison had a great love. She's passed away now. She died in 2015. She had a great love of Brighton Bush and would come there every year and do a 10-day Vipassana retreat. What a fortune for me, huh? It's my 7-year-old, but I need to see if I can. There she is. There's a picture of Ruth Denison. She also was a teacher early in life. She was from Germany and wound up over here and actually lived in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, and started her own retreat center near Joshua Tree, California. And her place is still in existence. It's called Dhamma Dana. But she also loved to travel out to other places like Brighton Bush and IMS, Insight Meditation Society. She would also teach in Germany and other places. So when I met her, she was indeed the teacher I was calling for. I wanted an older woman teacher. I visualized her ahead of time. I thought, I want this older woman teacher. I think she lives in the desert, and she can teach me what I need to know. And so here we are at Brighton Bush in this picture. Can you see that okay? Great. And this is right at the end of a 10-day retreat. I don't know if any of you have done 10-day silent Vipassana retreats. Ruth, though, was a maverick. She was a contemporary of Goenkaji. She came from the lineage of Kin, Burma. And she decided, I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. And so not only did she give endless Dharma talks, but she would bring out drums and have us do walking meditation to drums, right? She loved to sing. She'd have us sing little songs. So she did it the way she liked, and lots of people were drawn to her because of her style. She also drew a lot of women. And you can see me here. I mean, I think I'm crying there. My nose is red. I'm in such gratitude, down on my knees, and she's giving me a blessing. So this was my first root teacher. I'll just stop that share here. So again, great good fortune. Part of my being with Ruth Denison was that I saw this tremendous beauty of the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, and how they radiated out from Ruth Denison. She was a tough cookie, though, friends, and lots of people would run away saying, I would never be with that teacher, She could be very harsh and stern, and then very loving and kind. For me, I went down on my knee. When I first met her, I went down on my knees. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being willing to donate your life to the cause. And so I wanted to do something as a gift for her. So what could I do? If I were a painter, I would have painted her. I would have painted portraits. But I wasn't a painter. But I did have some experience in filmmaking, video making, and audio, and all this sort of thing. So I thought, I want to document her. So I started following her around with cameras, still pictures and video, and making some short documentaries and this sort of thing. So that was my service that I just naturally arose for me. Does anybody have a question?
I'll ask you another question if no one else has one.
Okay.
Can you, this audience here is very accustomed to looking very deeply at the fictional story of I. So would you be interested in sharing a little bit more about that and maybe do the exercise or whatever?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The story of I attribute to Joel Morwood, who's in the audience here, because Joel was my second teacher. And actually, I had both Joel and Ruth at the same time. They went hand in hand. Now, I moved to Eugene, Oregon, and stayed because Joel lived here and was freely giving spiritual teachings at the Center for Sacred Sciences.org. In those days, 30 years ago, there was no internet, no cell phones, or none of that sort of thing. And we met with Joel in his tiny living room. Tiny. Now I have a picture to show you. There he is. You see that okay? There he is. Okay, this is how Joel looked when I met him. And people would crowd into that little living room and listen to him speak every Sunday. He also did retreats twice a year for us. We'd go to a different retreat center or to a retreat center for that. He did a lot of things for us, dream groups and so on. Very, very consistent in his teachings and very giving, freely giving them. Now, you asked about the story of I. And I wanted to first show you a picture of Joel, and then here's a more recent picture. Of course, he's sitting in the audience there, so. But I did this photo of him a couple of years ago. But I wanted to give you a quote from Joel's book. This is the first edition, called The Way of Selflessness by Joel Morwood. And you can see my sticky notes hanging out here. But on page 38, Joel says, "We translate our lived experience into an interior stream of images, ideas, memories, expectations, and judgments, which our thinking minds weave into an intricate and ongoing narrative. This is the story of I, in which each of us ends up starring as a full-blown ego self. And although, like any good soap opera, the story has a host of supporting characters and shifting subplots, the dramatic tension always boils down to the same question with which the tale began. Will I be able to avoid suffering and attain happiness, whether it be in my new house or on my new job or with my new lover or on my next vacation or simply eating my next meal? Hour after hour," he says, "day after day, year after year, it continues to completely captivate our attention." That story of I, it's so convincing, thereby keeping us perpetually distracted from and ignorant of our true nature. So that means a lot to me. And Joel, in my years with him, there were things he said to me that just really stuck. One of the first things I heard him say is that there is no big daddy in the sky. I said, thank you. Because that was planted in my little 7-year-old mind. There's a big daddy in the sky. You got to be careful, right? do good. Someone's watching, So off-planet God, off-planet, not here in you, not you, but out there somewhere. And then the story of I, that made so much sense to me. It made so much sense to me that when Joel asked me to teach at the Center for Sacred Sciences, I felt confident in teaching about the story of I and finding a way to illuminate that story. Because in my experience, illumination, the light of awareness shining upon any delusion helps to dissolve or dissipate that delusion, the light. So it's not about making a better you. It's not about becoming a better you. It's about clearing away that story and seeing who you already are. Isn't that brilliant? Who you already are. You're looking for love? There it is. You're looking for approval? Here it is. Actually, true nature, I tell my students this often. It always seems like the first time I say it. True nature is not looking for something. True nature is not unhappy. True nature is not angry. True nature is not worried about getting older. All that comes from the story of I, which, by the way, I celebrate. You may have come across teachers who say, get rid of the story, drop it. And wouldn't that be something if we could just drop it? Joel says it's like a burning coal in your hand. He says, you say you don't feel well, you're not happy with life. There's a burning coal in your hand. How hard that is to do. Open the hand. Let that coal drop. And just be. Because in that just being, what I discovered on the bridge, that radiant joy that's always there. So I thank Joel for many, many things, and Ruth Denison for many, many things. But some of those types of things I've been able to take into my own teachings with other people. Now, I spent 30 years teaching college-level writing courses. And while I was doing that, I was practicing. Students didn't know outwardly that I was practicing. But Joel had given us the 10 selfless precepts, which I'd like to share with you. Here's Joel again. And here are precepts. Can you all read that? Yeah. 10 selfless precepts. Now, you don't just read them, you work them. And we would do that in our group with Joel. I mean, every week we might have a different one that we're working, looking at it closely, applying it to our lives. This first one, trying to enlarge it for you, responsibility. To take responsibility for my life, not to blame others for my own unhappiness. Now that is, that's everywhere right now. I'm blaming you. I don't like what you said. You make me unhappy. Blaming everybody else. When you work this and you look at that closely and you think, I can't blame that person, then who do I blame? Or do I just have to sit here with this feeling of, whatever it is, disappointment, nor make excuses for my own mistakes? So we worked these. I found that so useful, Joel. I know you're out there. So useful to have this structure. This was helping me to integrate the energy that opened for me on the bridge. Structure, understanding teachings that had come before, lots of Buddhism from Ruth Denison. But Joel actually is quite well studied and well versed in all the mystical paths at the highest level, which he says all comes together at the top, all saying the same thing there. So when Joel asked me to teach, I thought, well, how shall I teach? And after teaching all those classrooms and writing workshops, I thought, how about if I teach writing workshops focused on illuminating the story of I? And he said yes. I don't know, Joel, if that had to go through the board or not, but I got a yes on that. And I mean, again, great good fortune. I took the skills that I had been working on and brought it in to the spiritual world out in the open. Because in the classroom, I was hiding. I was practicing compassion, giving compassionate attention all the time to students, many of whom never have had compassionate attention, which saddened me. But I hoped that they would spread it forward. So I loved working with people that would bring together a group of people and using writing as a tool. So, Laura Joy, you wanted to know about the writing prompts and that sort of thing?
Yeah, if you're willing, share a little about the process. We do a lot. It's encouraged, each of us uses our own tools, but journaling is talked about a lot here, but not just writing out your day like the diary, using it as a self-inquiry tool and seeing the written word and what comes up as that process is happening.
Do you offer groups then, ongoing groups that are writing groups or journaling groups or that sort of thing?
There are retreats that are involved with self-inquiry, doing the inquiry.
Self-inquiry.
But I don't know if Shauna could probably speak. I don't know if I've ever seen just specifically a writing workshop, but it's as an encouraged tool as part of a workshop. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Well, I always tell people to do the writing workshop that I offer, you do not have to be a good writer. It's not anything about being a good writer or becoming a better writer. I would teach that to students over at the college, but this isn't about that. It's not about being published or writing your spiritual memoir or anything like that. It's about using that writing to illuminate the fiction that creates I'm this, I'm that. So I use certain techniques to bring that out. And I have to keep reminding students, this is not about being a good writer, because they'll come in and say, well, mine's not any good. It's not about being any good. That's really hard it's not about being good or impressing anybody. So you don't want to hear that yet? We do want to hear it. So, I can tell the story of I is really fresh and alive. They don't want it to be bad. Don't want to think I'm bad. But anyway, so what I do is I give what I call a roll-up. Now, before the pandemic, when I met with everybody in person, I met in person, and I would hand out one of these. I call this the roll-up. Now, this one is this was from a while back, but it says, cultivating awareness around attachment and letting go using imaginative writing. So everybody would take home this little roll-up, and each morning they committed to write 10 minutes a day, every day. When it comes time to write, they would open the roll-up and it would say, I wanted people to see me as a... And my instruction to them was, the pen hits the page and the words fly out. I don't care if it's nonsense. The word hits the page, the pen hits the page, or the fingers go to the keys, the words fly out. Okay? I don't care if it's bad. The next day, don't look ahead. They promised me they wouldn't. Don't look ahead. Next day, unroll it. She was most attached to her. Okay, the first one was the first person point of view, I. And we're so attached to the I. But the second one is in the third person. Could be he, she, or they. She. And I would tell my students, and I do still tell them, if you don't want to write from lived experience, don't. Just make it up. Just like a dream. Go to sleep at night, make something up. Make it up. I don't care, truth or fiction. Play with fiction. Play with fiction. Because this is about exposing fiction that we take to be true. Third one. You look in the mirror and start judging. So the you is a second person. So I use first, second, and third. I mix up the verb tense too. I will, I was, I am. I mix that all up. And what that does is start to loosen that grip. I was 7 years old in Iowa, and I had the experience. She was 7 years old in Iowa. You can start to examine that a little bit. Isn't that a fun story? People love stories, and I love stories. I love fiction. That's why I got an MFA in fiction. I did it because I wanted to. I love fiction. Make up a good story. Joel is always talking about the movie, The Titanic. Joel, I've never watched it. I have this thing where I can't stand to watch things that everybody, Oppenheimer, I don't want to see whatever it is. But Joel talks about Titanic, and how people wanted to see Titanic even though they knew it was a tearjerker. I'm going to go there and cry again. I'll go again and again. I want to see the Titanic. Or we watch it on TV now. We love the story. We want stories that make us feel. We want to cry. We want to laugh. I want a Hallmark movie. Happily ever after, whatever it is. I want a good story. The human mind is like that. And so the human mind's going to cook up some good stories, keep you occupied. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you. I just have.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Okay. Yeah, with one of the adventures, at least that we can find within, is we can start to see this unfolding, and then we might reach into these deeper layers of the mind where there really is sort of a barrier based around fear and guilt and shame, and that this is the realm of experience. That's why we came here, to have all these different feeling experiences. Do you offer any things as people are moving through some energies that they might encounter, how to embrace that and unfold that in love?
Couple of things come to mind. One exercise I do is create a character workshop. And I say, okay, now let's all create a character who's swallowed up in grief. And we create a name for the character. We create a hometown for that character. We create their favorite foods. We create them like they're real people. And then we create, why are they in grief? And we show them going to the grief. And we show what influences them. We really embrace them. The character. Love my character. If anybody here, fiction writers? Anybody? I had to kill off a character when I was writing some fiction. It just broke my heart. It felt like a real person to me. So, yes, things come up in writing workshops because people start reliving things. We're not here actually to dwell on the stories. In my writing workshop, to dwell, they come up, but we're not there to dwell or to do therapy on, but rather to look at them, the fictional nature. Yes, chronologically in a life stream on the planet, in this dual existence. I was born in Iowa. My character was born in Iowa. However, I sit here now before you I'm here now, present. The little girl in Iowa doesn't exist. She's gone. I was there. Actually, she was there. She was present because she was a light of awareness. When things come up, sometimes, people need stability to be able to progress. Like they've had some trauma that needs to be embraced. I think you used that word. Laura Joy, you were saying about really taking it in and
Folded in love.
Enfolded in love, yeah. And guess what? True nature, love. True nature, love. Bring it home. Some people, though, they need to work with a therapist and to gain stability so that they can begin to look more closely at who they think they are. Who am I? In the live stream, things happen. Is that who I am? Who am I? And if I feel pain here, for example, when my mother passed away in 2018, wow. The pain in love. Right, Laura? The pain in love. It took 4 months to go through that grief. But I don't know if you're into astrology at all. I'm very Piscean. Give me a bowl of grief. I'm going to dive into it. Give me sorrow. Come on closer. I have always been this way. Somebody's over there crying. May I help you? So emotion, I've always been someone who, I love emotion. I don't want to get rid of all these things about earth life. I want to have an open heart. And in my experience, I found the heart actually can open forever. A lot of people say, I can't take it. I can't take the suffering of the world is too much. And so maybe they do need to build more stability, could be through meditation or whatever, practices and so on. But then to be able to really face and embrace only emotion in the world. Does that answer your question?
It does, and it brings me to another, and that is because grief is a subject that's very alive here in this community right now.
Yes.
And with the chat poetry, and I'm looking at the time, I just want to make sure we have enough time.
Okay.
I don't know if you use a topic, but can we play?
You want to play with that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what would be a good one here. Yes, grief, I would say, is not something to avoid. To anesthetize yourself. Have you ever done that? Like, oh, this hurts too much. I'm just going to turn on Netflix and disappear with my ice cream and everything and just forget. I mean, sometimes our nervous system is such we can't handle something right now. But yeah, I'm sitting with the grief of my mother. And isn't that something to have loved like that? Okay. So given the story of I is like a soap opera going on and on, I'd like to try some chat poetry with you all. We'll see how much time there is. We could do maybe a couple of them if we have time. And to do this, you'll need your chat bar on your computer or your phone or whatever you're using.
Everybody have their chat bar open?
Okay. Let me just say here that I recently produced the Go Is Nothing writing workshops on videotape. This is 4 episodes that features 8 students who go through these prompts with me and it's designed for the audience to follow along. So you could access these episodes and give it a try and see how it works for you. You can email me and get the link for that. I bring that up because the first prompt I gave the students is this, and I'd like you to try it. My inner movie theater holds me captive with. So in your chat bar, I'd like you to finish that sentence. Just whatever comes to mind. My inner movie theater holds me captive with. And if nothing comes to mind, fiction. You get to make it up. So let's just give that a few seconds, and I'll watch for those to pop up. My inner movie theater holds me captive with. Okay, so I see some coming in now. Just keep them coming. You can have more than one. So my inner movie theater holds me captive with stories of deep despair. My movie theater holds me captive with thoughts of fear, with nature and wild animals, the incessant making of the me. My inner movie theater holds me captive with the sudden death of my husband. Yeah. My inner movie theater holds me captive with the belief that I am somehow separate from everything I see on the screen. I like that. My inner movie theater holds me captive with stories of wondrous glory, the grief of unworthiness, with stories of me, with the possibility that I will never get this, and that somehow I am the special one that really can't do it. I love that. My inner movie theater holds me captive with ideas of later and never. Good. See how that works? I think I got them all. So one of the things that we do in the writing workshops is we come back and we read. We choose one of our writings for that week and we read it aloud, which is an important part to share without judgment, without evaluation, which we've just done here. All of this weaves together into a human experience, into poetry. And then we can start to say, hey, the grief of unworthiness and stories of me too. Me too. Oh, I thought I was isolated feeling this. Oh, everybody. Everybody. Good. Any question about that?
That was great. Yeah.
Should we do another one? Jan, you liked it? Great. Let's try another one. I was pulling out some notes from the past, and there we go. For the center, and by the way, centerforsacredsciences.org. Look us up. Look your way through, and you'll find that we have a YouTube page, and you can find talks that have been presented by Joel, myself, and other teachers that we have. There's playlists, by the way. Yeah, good. Tom just put that up for us, centerforsacredsciences.org index. Yeah, going to, oh yeah, that's the writing workshop. Thanks, Tom. So if you can see in the chat right now, that is a link to the Go Is Nothing Writing Workshop video series, which is a good place to experience it. But you can also go to YouTube. You'll see the videos on YouTube, but also the talks that we've given. Now, I gave one called Coming Out of Hoarding. And I gave that one because I had just given 2 talks called Coming Out of Hiding, Part 1 and Part 2. Coming out of hiding is a major theme for me because I hid. After being 7 and having all that and so on, I hid. I went into hiding. about lots of stuff, about being a spiritual being, hiding from God, hiding my sexuality, hiding from my family, hiding from myself, hiding, not speaking out the truth, hiding. And so coming out of hiding is a major theme for me. So I gave 2 talks on that. Then I thought, okay, coming out of hoarding. I had been observing someone who was hoarding, lots and lots of stuff, and the house was full of all these things. And you've seen TV shows, you might have known someone, you may be a hoarder, or someone in the neighborhood hoards everything. So I thought, I'm going to do this talk about hoarding. Hoarding stuff, okay. Hoarding stuff in our minds and hoarding stuff in my heart. I love everybody, but I can't tell anybody. I'm hoarding it up. I had a broken heart, so I'm not going to have any more people there in my heart, whatever the case. So I have a challenge for you here based on this idea. It'll be 3 parts, okay? So the first one is, in my house, you will find, so I mean your physical house, or wherever you live. It could be in a van, or, maybe you camp out, or in my house, you will find, and please be specific. It could be piles of books in every corner, overflowing drawers. In my house, you will find, and I'll give you some. In my house, you will find lots of spiritual books, scraps of fabric of every color, tons of artwork, piles of books and lots of plants, sweet treats, neatness, spacious walls, lots of papers, lots of books and plants. Good. Lots of writing, stacks and stacks of notebooks. You've written loads of Legos. What are you going to do with all those Legos? Cats and their toys, cat toys everywhere. All these things we hoard, we keep, we grasp. I need some more books. I need some more grasping. Cats and their toys. Okay, good. Now let's try the next one. In my mind, you will find. What if we could go into each other's minds and see what's there? I think most of us are happy we can't do that, right? In my mind, you will find, let's see what you got. Reminders of true nature. Lots of fears. Good, that's a good thing to recognize. More ideas than I can ever create. In my mind, you will find lots of thoughts and images. Good. In my mind, you will find, keep going, endless stories of me, prayers and praise. Good. Good. Curiosity, huge feelings. The story of I taking over again. There it is again, taking over. In my mind, you will find thoughts that upset if I claim them, if I believe in them, right? In my mind, you will find the story of me again. Good. Beautiful. You could weave these all together on a piece of paper, create some poetry, lots of stories, beliefs, openness, curiosity, judgment. Now, I want to point out, if the mind stops, and all of those things fall through, learning acceptance of the human experience. Good. Okay. All that stuff in our mind, all that stuff in our houses, all that stuff in our minds. Don't let me end without talking about go as nothing. And then we'll try the last prompt. In my heart, you will find. Mm-hmm. Get the house, the material world, the mind, story of I, and in the heart, what do we find there? In my heart you will find. In my heart you will find love. In my heart you will find fear of rejection and fear of success. You'll find endless love, amazing love, inner guidance, love and fear, love and light. In my heart you will find tenderness and comfort and uncomfort. Yeah, good. In my heart. Let's open that heart up a little wider. What else is there? Willingness. Search for truth. Good. Beautiful. Openness, truth, spiritual aspiration, gratitude, joy, acceptance, space, and sometimes contraction. Hiding. Oh, yes, that person who wrote hiding, I want to talk to you. Compassion with it all just as it is. The grief, the sorrow, the loss as it is has a home in my heart. Makes me want to cry. Compassion, limitless gratitude, acceptance, willingness, sweetness. What beautiful things in the heart. That word contraction came up. The heart, when it contracts, oh, is that painful or what? It's like we're talking about all this acceptance, this radiant joy and love. Oh, when it cuts off, broken heart. I can barely breathe. Who identifies with that? Let me see your hands. I want to know who I'm talking to here.
I had that today.
You had it today.
But
What do you do? What do you do? There it is. When that happens to me, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for everything. Thank you, God. The good things, the bad things. The only thing is God's not a daddy in the sky anymore. What it is, I can't tell you. My brother and I decided we'll never know. That's okay with me, no problem. Doesn't matter. I have faith in compassion. Compassion leads the way, and I follow that. Good, Jan, go ahead.
Can you tell me about your brother now?
Yeah, interesting. He remained an odd duck. He is definitely an odd fellow, but like me, he followed the pursuit of happiness in the material world and became a professor, a full professor, even the director of a department, and studied sociology. Yeah, sociology, studying people and so on, married, 3 children. He went, did the whole thing. And he's still odd duck. I think if you met him, you'd say, well, he's an odd duck. But he's alive, and I think he's happy in his way. He's happy in his way. He did not follow the spiritual path. When we were young, I one time came upon him doing transcendental meditation because we actually live close to Fairfield, Iowa, where the big Maharishi International University is situated. And he went to college in Iowa and was exposed to TM, transcendental meditation. I saw him practice it, but I don't know whether he would do that anymore. Thank you for that question. Anybody else want to ask a question?
I would ask, with your own exploration for writing and your own story, if you might share anything, any sort of revelations or openings that occurred as a result of your own writing.
That's an excellent opportunity for me to talk about Go Is Nothing. So here's Joel. Joel's in the audience listening in, so that's kind of interesting to have you right here. It's great good fortune to have a living teacher such as Joel sitting here with us. I suggest that you look at some talks by Joel. There's a fabulous, maybe Tom can put this up, our archives of Joel's talks on audio, mostly all on audio, that came through him in the 1990s and 2000s and so on. But one day, it was 1994. I had to fly I lived in Eugene, Oregon. I had to fly back to Iowa to visit my parents. So I had this story going like, oh, I don't want to go. They're going to be bickering and they're going to judge me and they're going to say, why are you doing it that way? And I thought, I don't want to go, and so I went to Joel and I said, Joel, this is a situation. What should I do? And Joel said, go as nothing. That's it. Just those words, go as nothing. Didn't explain it to me or anything. So I said, okay, well, go as nothing. I just go as nothing, go as nothing. Thank you, God, for everything. So I started chanting it, go as nothing, go as nothing. Get on the plane, I'm flying there, go as nothing, go as nothing. I don't know, how do you go as something how do you go as nothing when you're something? I'm something, I'm anxious, I don't want to go, I'm resistant. That's what I am. That's who I am, blah, blah, blah. But I was a dedicated student. And I said, I'm going to try this. I keep doing it. So I arrived at my parents' house. They were being themselves, their usual selves. And I said, go as nothing, go as nothing, go as nothing, go as nothing. And so all this was going on around me. And I said, wow, this is a lot like a play. Like I'm watching like there's a projection here and there's a play going on and this person's doing that. I said, they play their part so well. This is amazing. Look at him. My dad can say that and do that. My mom says this and does that. And I'm just here observing. I'm the observer watching the play. And I was no longer in resistance. So my habit was I'd go there and I'd say, now what can I do? And well, there was some peeling paint on the side of the house and my dad put up a big ladder and I climbed up there with the bucket of paint. And I'm up there, go as nothing, painting. There's paint fumes and I'm a little bit afraid on the tall ladder. I'm up 2 stories and go as nothing. And I look over in the yard and there's my folks and they're sitting in this bench in the backyard and they're bickering back and forth. But I just look down at them and see these 2 people and their hands are touching. And they're bickering back. Their hands are touching. And I just saw them without all my stories. And one of the stories was I'm the daughter who they're always judging and telling what to do or blah, blah, blah. And it dropped away. It wasn't there anymore. And so I came down off the ladder. I mean, it's sort of like going across the bridge. I came down off the ladder and it's like, I'm nothing. And isn't that marvelous? People are afraid of that word nothing. Don't call me nothing. You think I'm nothing? Yes. In that nothing was just acceptance, radiant acceptance. And as I was getting ready to leave, fly back to Oregon, my dad said, you really graced this place with your presence. Now, my dad didn't talk like that. I never heard him say the word. I thought, oh my golly, I created all that myself, all that bickering, the stories around it and them judging. I had created all that. And when I dropped it, so did they. That's something interesting. I don't know, Joel, if you could say anything about that, but when you accept yourself, the whole world is accepted. Am I right, Joel? Am I saying that correctly? I'd love to hear you jump in.
You're doing a great job. This is your show.
Oh.
I'm not going to bail you out.
Oh. We create our world around us, and we project it on the screen, and all this sort of thing. There's lots of things going on in the world. We think, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And, while it's true on this earth plane, there's lots of things happening. I don't want war in the world. But if I close my heart, you know how that hurts? Do you know how that sucks your energy right? All your energy. Oh my goodness. Laura, go ahead.
Song also, would you share about, because a lot of that projection happens because we're afraid of the looking, and that we do think that we're, in the words of one sage, the home of dark, sin, darkness, and fear and guilt, and if we look deep enough, that's what we're going to find, and then the punishment and the vengeance belief, and that worthiness, like you just mentioned it, which prompted this question, is that it's accepting ourselves first, but not just accepting, just that total love for, even this human experience and our human expression, where there's exquisite, unique expressions, regardless of how quote unquote limited they seem. So if you want to share about that.
Yeah. One thing I did write a note up here I wanted to weave into this is that I'm a person by good grace who grew up loving herself. And I was shocked as I got a little bit older to find out not everybody doesn't love themselves. Oh, that friend of mine over there is hurting herself. That person over there is suicidal, my friend. Why? And then I started hiding that I love myself. They might think that I'm egotistical or something because I'm okay and they're, So I was very drawn to the suffering that people had, and looking for how I could help. How can I help? And that's something that comes up naturally. It's spontaneous. How may I help? I love Ram Dass, some of his books, Compassion in Action, Grist for the Mill, all this sort of thing. How may I help? How may I turn the energies that appears to be flowing through this body into service? How may I serve? Very hard for us to serve if we're totally wrapped up in the story of I. My pain, my agony, my self-doubt. Self-doubt is a big one in the story of I. But true nature is not doubting itself. So I have found in working with people, and this includes also academically in the college classroom, a whole lot of love just waiting to come on through. It's there. The acceptance, the love, it's right there. It's for everyone. Even those people you don't like. Them. Because in awakening, those barriers between you and them, boop, where'd that go? Oh, I love you too. You're me. I love you too. I love me. I love all y'alls. I love all y'alls. And that's something I loved in teaching college is you get people from all backgrounds and so on without maybe any spirituality that they've been exposed to. And just a little love goes a long way. I love you. I wouldn't say that in the college classroom. You never touch anybody or you never do anything like that. But just to radiate it and to give a place, the space, go ahead, let the love come through. Love is so healing.
Yeah, beautiful. MerrySong, we just have a few more minutes left, so I want to make sure that you feel like you've shared everything that you'd like to, and also we have mentioned, and Shauna has so wonderfully posted links for how to contact you and look for more information for the Center for Sacred Sciences. But just want to make sure we've got those closing bits. And
I was just looking, I have all these sticky notes up on my computer. Did I say that? Did I say that? Did I say that? Yeah, I'm giving a talk next Sunday at the Center for Sacred Sciences. Y'all can zoom in to that talk. My talk is going to be on aging and the spiritual path. So from age 7 to 70, I just turned 70. And I'm feeling young. I love it. I love it. You know, so I want to talk about aging in the spiritual path and all the agonies we have over aging. I mean, I thought I was going to die when I turned 30. Oh my God. Don't trust anybody over 30. That's what we always said. Now I was going to be one of them. So I want to talk about the agonies we have in aging and how that agony comes from the story of I. So I'll be asking the audience to give examples of the agony and the ecstasy of it all. That's coming up. Good.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, please, if you have a question, it's a good time to speak up. I wanted to tell you also that I have a Facebook page. I recently opened a Facebook page for MerrySong because my other page has college students and family and this sort of thing. But I decided to open a page just for MerrySong Spiritual Teacher. So if you look up on Facebook, MerrySong, you might find some scantily clad MerrySongs out there. That's not me. When I looked it up, I thought, whoa, who's that MerrySong? I'm the one that's got spiritual teacher in parentheses, and you can, join me there, and I will periodically post things. Also, there's a Facebook page attached to that called the Go Is Nothing Writing Workshops. So there are links also there for that. Let's see, Thomas.
Those are free. Yeah. Those workshops are free, right? Am I correct?
Yes, they're absolutely free of charge. Thanks to the Center for Sacred Science, the Center for Sacred Sciences that funded it for me. Actually, Joel asked me if I could write a book about what I was doing. And I said, I think I'd rather do a video production and show it in action, designed for you, the audience, to try it. You get the prompt, you write it, you hear the other people, what they read, you read yours out loud to yourself or to a friend, whatever. So please, yes, look up that workshop series and contact me if you have questions or something you want to talk about. Good. Anybody else?
We have so enjoyed having you, Mary.
Well, I've enjoyed talking with you, especially again, thanks to Jan it's divine intervention, right, Jan? Because you had seen a talk of mine and you sent it over to them and they said, okay, let's have her come talk to us too. And it's a joy for me because what I get to do is open my heart and the big divine energy comes just on through and all that story of I is not there at all. It's just disappeared and the energy comes through. So Jan, again, thank you for that. I also want to thank you, Laura Joy. Thank you so much because you've put me at ease in a lot of ways. You know, I'm used to walking into classrooms with all new students, but on the internet, you never know. So Laura Joy put me at ease. And I even interviewed her in our phone call about Peace Pilgrim and various things. And I want to thank all the other people who are involved in your organization that make these things happen. Lynn and Shauna, the administrator there, Marisol, and other people. Yeah, who help out. And you look like you have a fabulous online community. So much stuff happening. So I thank you all. I thank my teacher, Ruth Denison. She's on my shoulder all the time. My teacher, Ruth Denison. And in a short while, I'm going to upload, with Tom's help, video documentaries I made about Ruth. They're getting ready to go on our YouTube channel. So you can see that, see her in action a little bit. She was always best in action. And yeah. And I want to thank Joel Morwood. Thank you, Joel. Who knew? Who knew? I was 39 years old when I met Joel. And yeah, thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being such a great audience. George, nice to meet you. Good. Lynn, Connie, and Ellen. Great. So MerrySong, it's Merry, like Merry Christmas. My mother gave me that name, Mary. She gave me her name as my middle name, Carol, like a Christmas carol. So I changed that to song, MerrySong. And that's what I like you to call me, MerrySong, because it reminds me. But anyway, MerrySong as one word at Center for Sacred Sciences.org. One time I wrote Scared Sciences. Somebody pointed out, what a funny blooper. Scared Sciences. So anyway, feel free to email me with questions and comments.
It's wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock my time. 9 o'clock your time?
Perfect. On the East Coast, yeah. And I think
8
Sean.
o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching our satsang. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to join us live, please remember you can do so by visiting our website at awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary. Again, our website is awakening-together.org. Remember to click the bell for more notifications and subscribe.